Thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Becca Gurish. I'm one of the two CGA fellows along with Nate Spires. Um, Welcome to the Center for Geospatial Analysis virtual speaker series. This is our last speaker series of the semester. So a little sad, but very exciting that we're getting deeper into the semester. We're all happy to have you join us on this very rainy here in Williamsburg Friday afternoon. As a rough outline of what this is going to look like, I'm going to have our panelists introduce themselves, and then I have some questions pre-written that we'll talk about for 30 to 45 minutes, and then we'll open it up to questions from the audience. So if one of our panelists would like to begin.
I'll start off. Hi, everyone. I'm Allie Kennedy. I am a group leader at Timmons Group. I've been doing GIS for almost 10 years now. Started out in AmeriCorps and from there went to Timmons straight away. So I've been here my entire professional career, more or less. Really excited to talk through all this.
I'll go second. Hello, everyone. My name is Hayden Hunt. I'm a systems analyst with the City of Oklahoma City Utilities Department. I started my GIS career in 2015 when I discovered GIS, switched my major. I also started working in the department's cartography lab, doing some map digitization. After graduating, I worked in the GIS transportation industry for a while. And then I started working in the city's utilities department in 2021, and I've been here ever since.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Greenwell. I'm a data analyst at Plan RBA, which is the regional PDC for the Richmond area. I've been there for about 2 years, and I provide GIS and data support for all the program areas. So that includes environmental planning, transportation planning, and economic development planning.
Hi. So my first question is, what drew you to pursuing a career in GIS? Allie, do you wanna start first?
Sure. So I ended up in GIS accidentally. I have a degree from UNC in biology, and by the time I graduated, I did not want to go back to school for any kind of post-grad anything. So I joined AmeriCorps, and I was in a branch where you get assigned to a specific specialty within FEMA, and I got randomly assigned to a GIS team. So I got 5 days of GIS training, and then they deployed me and 7 others to the Boston FEMA office to support them in whatever way we could, which was an amazing start because FEMA has access to every kind of data and training and tool you could ever want. So I spent most of my days just taking literally every Esri training, learning Python online. And then every now and then our FEMA mentor would like say, hey, how would you solve this problem? And we would do model builders and learn how to use geoprocessing tools and build maps. So very free-form, self-driven kind of situation. And then after 6 months there, I figured out I love GIS, but was pretty bored. So I applied to like every entry-level GIS position, and Timmons hired me. And it has been a great path for me here. I started out, doing the GIS tech role that lots of people end up in, where you're every day digitizing pretty tedious stuff, but slowly exposure to more and more tools until I became an analyst working on parcels and addressing and automation workflows, and then eventually leading a team. So got here accidentally, but I really love it.
Great.
I'll go next. So, growing up, my family we moved around a lot, and while there were some negatives to that, moving around also kind of gave me the opportunity to experience different regions and cultures. As a result, I really developed a love for learning about those other walks of life, right? And in college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. It was honestly kind of a miracle that I was there. But my main goal was to get a degree in something employable, something that people would pay me to do, right? And in between my freshman and sophomore year, still undecided for my major, I was delivering pizza, and I delivered to a building on campus. And while I was there, I saw a flyer that said, "Do you want to travel the world without leaving campus?" And I remembered earlier when I checked my bank account and saw only 2 digits in there. I was like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Sure. So I looked into it. It was a World Regional Geography summer course. It's 4 weeks long. Signed up for the class. I loved it. It was taught by the honors professor in the department. And at the end, he was actually the advisor as well. And he gave me a brochure of the geography department of the program itself. And after doing some research, I discovered that I could not only just learn about different cultures and everything, something that I really enjoyed, but I could have a career in GIS. So I said, absolutely, switch majors, never looked back.
Yeah, I started out in environmental science, and after that bachelor's degree, I had some jobs before deciding to kind of shift gears and go back to school for geography. But something about environmental science I like is that it's so interdisciplinary and dependent on place that using GIS as a tool is a really great way to show spatial relationships and make the case that a location is having a unique experience, not like other places. And that's very like geography 101 thinking. Um, and maps are so beautiful. I feel like there's such an opportunity to be creative at work with the choices I make. And I get to express that part of myself. I also think GIS is a great career for people who want to feel like they're just always a student for the rest of their life because there's always new technology and new things to keep learning that keeps it exciting.
Great. All right, so kind of shifting into our main topic on identity and how that
Right?
impacted your career. Um, what have you seen
Yay.
workplaces do
Oh,
successfully to become more inclusive to the LGBT community? And what do you wish that you could see more of?
I'll go first again, if that works. So I've always been out here. I met my wife at Timmins, and we were not like in the closet or anything about that. Um, so it's never been a problem for me here. I mean, to kind of generalize, a lot of engineering places, there's a lot of um, older white male leadership, but Timmons Group is a very like inclusive place. We, since I've been here in the last 10 years, have launched a DEI initiative. I'm on like a committee for that. And every year during Pride Month, they make sure to acknowledge that and stuff. So it's definitely like been a thing that's expanded even since I've been here. And I've like literally never encountered any like pushback or problems or anything being out.
Yeah, so I lived in Oklahoma, right? And I'm sure we all might have some notion of what that might mean for someone in our community. But for me, I've never been in the closet. I've been out since I was 12. I was fortunate enough to have family that accepted me. Now, when I got out of college, though, I knew that level of acceptance wouldn't be the same everywhere, right? I've been a part of a mentors program with the city for a while now, and one of the things we recently focused on was the idea of personal branding. And when I started my first big kid job, I wanted to ensure that when someone thought of me, all they thought of was GIS. I wanted to be synonymous with GIS. In the words of Ken, I wanted my job to be map. That's it. Which in my mind would leave little room for anything else. In the utilities department that I'm at now, I work with all types of people. And to be honest, I work with a lot of people that you might look at them and make some assumptions about what they might think about the queer community. But when I interact with them, I make sure to put all of my assumptions about them aside in the hopes that they'll do the same, right? We all have a job to do here. And so long as you're cool with me, I'm cool with you. But I would like to make note, to be clear, I don't try to hide my identity or anything like that. I have my wife's pictures up on the wall. I wear my favorite pair of Vans that have rainbow and trans flags on them. I don't change myself when I walk through the door. I'm unapologetically me. And I think that's important that we take up space in the work environment. But again, with that understanding that respect values respect. It's not given, it's earned. And at the end of the day, people know my job is math and that works.
Yeah, I'll say, I feel incredibly lucky to work somewhere that has a number of queer employees. And when I was hired, there was already somebody there that dressed in a gender non-conforming way. So I immediately felt like oh, I could be my authentic self every day at work. So representation is important, right? Before I was even hired, when I interviewed, I was like, oh, cool, I'll have friends there. Um, and that seeing that also reflected really well in their hiring practices. And yeah, there's pride flags in so many of our cubicles at work. It really adds to my happiness, feeling like I can be and am seen for my whole self by my coworkers that have like the same beliefs or like experiences, right? And I will say that for working in the public sector, and urban planning or transportation planning, there's like a really high number of queer people that work in that space. And so when we host events or engage with other nonprofits or organizations, and like you're always meeting new people that are queer, I guess. And that's it makes me feel great being like, I'm gonna obtain and maintain this career in this space, and this is exactly where I want to be finally.
Great, thank you. You all kind of touched on this of the idea of being out in the workplace. And most of you mentioned feeling kind of like safe to do that from the beginning of your careers. How did you kind of find that confidence to be out from the start in your careers?
Um, my answer's maybe not going to be that super helpful, but my parents are queer. I've never in my life even considered not being out. That's just, you know, not been a thing that has kind of come up. Um, the idea of working in a place where I couldn't be is not something I would consider. Um, and I live in a large-ish city in Richmond, and those are generally run pretty liberal. Went to UNC, extremely liberal. So my whole basically adult life has been in places that are pretty accepting. Um, I don't know if that answered the question, but that's what I got.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was gonna say that I I definitely have never had to have a conversation with any of my coworkers where I have to like explain my relationship or do anything like that with them. But I mean like I feel that because there were other queer people before me, I just kind of was like, well, I don't have to do any kind of coming out. It doesn't have to feel like any kind of stressful situation. Um, yeah, I guess that's all for me.
Yeah, I mean, I look at myself in the mirror and a lot of times I'm like, yeah, people, you don't really have to come out. People know, right? So there are some benefits to that. But I mean, to be completely honest with you, yes, I'm in Oklahoma. Yes, there are some people who have a different mindset, right? But I've never really let that kind of hold me back. I've never really cared. I always knew that I'm here to do this one thing. I'm offering you a GIS service. If you want to work with me, excellent. If not, well, my team's the only one that does GIS in the department. So we're here to help, right? And if you want to bring in your personal biases and not be able to get the work done, then that's on you. That's not me.
Yeah, great. Okay. Okay. How have you navigated changes in your career, and how do you know when to move on either to a different workplace or to getting a degree, or just to a different position within your workplace? How do you kind of navigate those changes?
I guess I can circle back to something I said before. When I was in AmeriCorps, after like 6 months, it was super boring. We in AmeriCorps, you get posted to different locations, and at our second location, they just didn't really have anything for us to do. So I did every Esri training, and then wasn't learning anything. And spending a day, 8 hours every day in an office with like literally nothing to do makes those 8 hours take 30 to pass. So when you aren't learning things anymore, there aren't, fun things to get into, especially in GIS, like Hayden was saying, like there are always new things. And if you're not encountering new things, then probably it's time to look for something that'll help you grow. I brought someone on to my team last year who, when I was interviewing her, one of the things she said was one of her core values was growth or learning, something like that. Like, yeah, if you're not in a place where you can do that, you know, consider at least moving. Which is not to say that every day is exciting, right? Like when I first got here, I spent months entering Kogo into parcel fabric, and that is part of the process of getting a career in anything, is doing those tedious weeks or months. But if 2 years later you're just doing that and it doesn't appeal to you, which for some people that's fine to keep doing, then there are always new GIS things out there. Learn to fly a drone, learn to about utilities, learn about addressing workflows. Start learning on your own, and that'll get you into the next thing if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would probably say throughout my 20s, I always had kind of a 5-year plan, right? That was important to me. And it was important to evaluate where I was career-wise, what I was doing, how much I enjoyed the things I was doing, right? My first job out of college was in the transportation planning industry, and I liked it, right? But it wasn't something that I really loved, and it wasn't something that I could see myself doing 5 years later. What I really enjoyed working with was really with other people to find out how GIS could best suit their needs. I always thought I was an introvert who they just want to sit behind a desk and do their GIS work all day long, which that's totally valid, and we need people like that. But for me, I discovered that wasn't me. I found that I was a bit more extroverted than I originally thought. I wanted to work with people more. Additionally, the office that I was working at, the social atmosphere wasn't the best, and that can honestly really make or break a workplace, right? To quote the youth, if the vibes are off, the vibes are off, right? So after about 3 years of working there, decided I needed to change of pace, and I looked elsewhere, never looked back. And now, really, as I find myself towing the line of my 3rd decade on this planet, I've started to look a little further out than 5 years. I'm thinking, okay, I've more or less successfully executed my 5-year plan that I had when I was 22 or 23. Now I'm really strategizing where I want to be in 10 years, 15 years. Who do I want to be? What kind of leader do I want to be? The things that I'm doing now really are setting me up for that success.
Yeah. When I made the decision to go back to school, I was in a place where I didn't feel like I was learning new skills anymore. I knew there had to be something more that I could be doing. And it's really hard to sit in that feeling like, okay, I'm capable of more, I should be doing more. And then turning that feeling into navigating and shifting gears and doing something different. Navigating changes are really hard, and deciding to make a change is scary. But if you feel like you're at a job and you're not being offered or supported when you're trying to seek out new opportunities or trying to keep learning, or you feel like that job is not valuing the work that you do, then those are reasons to move on for sure. After grad school, I shifted gears again and I moved back to Richmond. And I was living in Lexington, Kentucky before, and I feel like my experiences, had I stayed there, would have been really different than what I feel in my job now. Yeah, but I feel like, all the changes that I made, as scary as they were at first, have definitely worked out for the better.
Kind of touching on that, what has kind of made you realize that the position that you're in is a place that you want to be, either just like for now or as a long-term position?
I think my answer to that is that I don't know that I have been in any position for a long time, right? I'm 9.5 years into my professional life, and starting from basically knowing 1 week of GIS to I run a whole group here. So there's not really been any time of staticness, right? I will say, if you are good at things and you're in a good environment, people notice that, and then you'll keep getting new opportunities. In the GIS world, oh, that looks like here is a thing that's broken. Please go fix it, because you seem to have good initiative or know how to Google things or whatever it is. And so, you get tossed opportunities if you're good at doing GIS, at standing out, at being responsive, at learning. And from there comes growth. Now that I am a manager, I don't actually get to do a lot of GIS, right? I manage people who do GIS. And some days that's real sad. I miss doing the actual technical work, but every now and then, I get to do some. And every other day, I'm helping people, problem solve when the GIS gets a little bit tough. So seeing other people grow into those skills and explaining some concepts about databases or feature services or whatever to people and seeing the light click on between the different ideas. It's a different kind of work than I was doing, 3 years ago when I actually did GIS, but it's still really rewarding. Again, I don't know if that answered the question, but
No, it does.
No, Allie, I think that's so true. The idea of being able to troubleshoot in GIS will get you so far. Being able to just Google something, I can't tell you how many times someone says, "Oh, this is the error code I got," and I'm like, "Oh yeah," quickly Googles it to see what that error code means. This is how you fix it, right? Like,
says right there on the help page.
yeah, right there. Did you Google? No, okay. Well, I'll fix it for you. No, I think at the city. So when I first started back in 2021, it was just me. Started as a network administrator, but our leadership understood that we had a lot of awesome things we could do with GIS. We just needed someone or a group to help us get there. And so over the last 4 years, we've actually grown from one person to a team of 4.5. We have our own section, and it's been really, really nice to have leadership that sees the value, right? And they're open to changes in which GIS can really improve the efficiencies around here.
Yeah, I work somewhere that I feel that all of my coworkers really value the work I do. They are really supportive of any ideas that I have. When we apply for grants, we get grants and complete the project, and on and on and on. And we support our local jurisdiction, so we get requests for data, requests for maps, and I feel like I can, I love like the quick turnaround of getting things done. I feel like I've accomplished a lot. I feel like I've helped people, which is a great feeling. I feel like, fixing things on people's computers is fun for me, and I love doing that for my coworkers. And then I have the potential to like pitch ideas for projects, which is always really fun to tell my coworkers, like, I think we should do this, and have other people like mirror that excitement back to me and be excited with me about suggestions for apps or dashboards or things that we can do with data. Something that my boss provides is that time for me to keep learning new things. And I would like never leave this job because I'm so provided the opportunity to try things and fail. And that is so important when you're working with GIS. And, some days are hard when you're like, I don't know why this code isn't working. And there's nothing on all of the help sites that I usually go to about it. So just, I love that chance and that time for myself to keep learning. And that's provided to me in my job. Yeah, trying and failing is critical.
Hi. All right. So graduation is coming up at William and Mary, and I know we have a lot of graduating seniors or graduate students in our Zoom today. What was something that was really helpful for you in transitioning from being a student to entering the workforce? What advice would you give to our graduating students?
Feel like I'm just going to mirror something that Elizabeth said before, which is try scary things. When I joined AmeriCorps, the particular sub branch I was in is you get assigned to a team of like 8 people and then deployed somewhere in the US with those people, and you live with them and grocery shop with them and work with them, and it is a lot. But it was a great opportunity for me, got me a career. It made me better at working with people, even when, maybe after the 6th week of 24/7 with these people, you want to scream. you still have to be professional. And I think that those skills transition well to every other part of a professional life. But like, deciding to go across the country and get trained to do who knows what was a big step. So taking those things, it can be risky and a little bit scary, but it's usually worth it. Um, I think the other thing I would say, which maybe people at a university don't want to hear, is get out in the workforce before you go back for another degree. When I am looking to hire people, someone who's just got a GIS degree and then went back and got a master's, it's much less interesting to me than someone who got a GIS degree and went and actually worked and have professional experience, rather than just, got a master's or something in geography. And potentially that's different at local govs or something, but from my side of the house, um, I'd much rather see people in the workforce than a bunch of academic accolades.
I would say the best thing for me was probably focusing on those soft skills, right? So we go to school, we learn all the technical aspects of GIS, we learn how to make the coolest maps, coolest dashboards, but those soft skills, having the emotional intelligence level to really connect with the people that you're working with will get you so far in life. Uh, I'd recommend that to everyone. You can be the smartest person in the room intellectually, but if you don't know how to talk to people, if you don't know how to relate to people, you're not going to get far. Because at the end of the day, people will remember what you did for them, but they'll also remember how you made them feel.
That is so true. Those soft skills are so important. And I feel like I developed those when I, got through a bunch of weird jobs between undergrad and going back to graduate school. Um, if I could give a bit of advice, I know when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, there was a bunch of stuff that I just was like, I don't even know what to apply for. I don't know what I can do. I'm not totally qualified for a lot of things. I would just say, like, apply for anything that excites you because transferable skills will get you far. And now that I've been in a position on the other end where we do hiring and I've read people's applications and resumes, yeah, seeing people that, have cool experience, have varied experience and a lot of bringing in like different and new skills that you don't have in the workplace are equally as important as technical skills. I feel like I don't manage anyone currently, but if I were to hire someone, I'd be like, I can teach them to code. I can't teach them how to like talk to people in the office that come in, like yeah, and how to behave with emotional intelligence, like Hayden said, like especially when you have local representatives coming into your work, you work in public facing ways. Yeah, interacting with the general public is nuts sometimes.
Okay, great. And if anybody didn't see, Dr. White, our associate director, kind of agree with that point. People in academia also recommend going to get experience before returning to school. So that's always something to keep in mind. I, and so my final question is about building professional networks. Because a lot of students are just getting started, how did you guys go about finding a professional network, and how has that kind of helped you in your career?
Conferences. So attending your local conference can be very helpful. A lot of them have student rates, sometimes free, rarely. And going there, bring your resume, go talk to the vendors and the different, people giving talks, and listen more than you talk is what I would say there. Um, I've looked up a couple of you while I was, listening to other answers and didn't find a lot of LinkedIn pages. Um, have LinkedIn, y'all. That's how you build a network out in this day and age. If I can't find you on LinkedIn, that is the end of my search. So build that out, keep it up to date, have your skills in there, post or comment on other people's posts. Follow people who excite you or who do things you want to do. In the Esri world, Esri has a whole bunch of solution engineers who are on LinkedIn and post about new technology. keep up with that stuff. Know what's going on in the world. If you're interviewing and someone says, hey, have you ever used attribute rules? Your answer can be no, but hey, I've read about it and I'm really excited. You know, you don't need to know everything in GIS to get a job, but you need to show that you're interested in learning. So I would say between conferences and LinkedIn, that's a great starting point. And then once you have a job, if you're ambitious, then the way to feed that is to be involved with activities that are going on. So here at Timmins, we do a whole bunch of socials, and they're all optional. No one is required to go to any of them, and certainly we have a lot of people who don't go to any of them. If you are looking to get somewhere, it's a good idea to show your face at different things. It's 100% not required, and if you're not ambitious, that's just fine. But if you want to move up in the world, you need people to recognize you, and that means spending time at events that maybe you don't actually want to go to, but you need to in order for people to recognize you. And like when I first started here, I was not ambitious. I didn't care about moving up. I just wanted a job. And then over time, I was like, you know, maybe I'll start going to these things. And some of them were fun, even though I didn't expect them to be, right? I'm an introvert. I don't want to spend my evening at a cafe talking to engineers. But it turns out people are interesting when you care about what they're talking about. And sometimes even when you don't. So get out there. Like I said, do scary stuff. Do things you think won't be fun and find out if they are fun. I think that mostly builds network, being interested in what other people are doing.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna absolutely echo everything you just said, right? My freshman year of college, I took a career readiness course or something like that. It was just a semester or maybe a half semester. The one thing we had to do was create a LinkedIn. That was, I think it was actually for a grade or something like that. She asked us to create a LinkedIn, find our niche, follow some pages and just start putting yourself out there, right? You don't have to tell everyone everything about yourself, but having that presence in today's age has definitely helped me. Also, the local GIS conference, absolutely. We have one here in Oklahoma. It's called OK SCOG. There's an annual one-day conference every single year, and I get more out of that than I do a lot of other trainings that I go to, not only for the presentations that people share, but also the networking aspect. Really enjoy it. Also in the workplace, that, I know it's difficult if you're in a remote role, but if you're not, like that small talk at work really does matter. Get to know people, right? It kind of humanizes them. This will never be an episode of Severance, right? We're on like episode 5, so we're learning about it. But it won't. We bring our lives with us at work, and it's worth getting to know the people that you work with.
I saw BAMList was dropped in the chat. BAMList is great. It was low stakes to go, and I had a web app in the competition this year, and it was so great to talk to other people that come to the conference and ask them about what they do and how they do it, with what tools. It was really fun. I know there's also a Central Virginia user group that meets like Hanover, Richmond for GIS. There's GeoMug coming up, Mid-Atlantic user group. And Virginia now has a Women in GIS chapter, which is so cheap to join. It's like $5, join it. And they have a Slack channel. I'm also in, it's kind of just adjacent, but I'm in the Data Visualization Society as well, which was really affordable to join. And their Slack channel is also really great at just troubleshooting technical issues, chatting with people, and they do have an LGBTQ channel, which I would love the women in GIS to have, just to network.
Great. All right. Thank you guys so much for answering all of my questions. We are going to move into um, some questions from the audience. So if anybody in the audience has questions, if you want to do the raise hand feature through Zoom, and then I'll call it a name, and then you can unmute yourself to ask your question. I think that's probably the easiest way to go about it. So if people have questions, you can start raising your hand.
Hayden, I hope you
Uh,
don't mind this, but I'm going to plug your, I think your LinkedIn goes to some web maps and dashboards you built, which I found very fun. So, you know, anyone can put together some maps and dashboards on anything, including what you're currently reading, and you know, show that you know how to use some basic GIS skills and different applications, you know, without putting in a crazy amount of effort or automation or anything. You can kind of display you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I started my personal ArcGIS Online account back in 2023 or so. I'm not sure what the cost is for students. It might be free, but for me as a professional, for personal use, it was $100. Totally doable, right? I made a portfolio out of a story map. Since Ali plugged it, I'll go ahead and put it in the chat, right? But I think it is a great tool for someone in the GIS space to be able to use. The story maps are very cool. You can learn how to do those. You can display some of the PDF maps that you've made. I have a hobbies section where I put all of my personal dashboards that I've made because I'm also a big GIS nerd at home. So I definitely recommend if you have $100 to spare and want to start your own ArcGIS Online for personal use, you should go for it.
All right. I think
I have a question. Me trying to find the hand raising button is really funny. So I will actually turn on my video as well. Have you all had any experiences, anybody, with going into an interview and having like a bad vibe, where you're like, I don't know about this. And did you stick with going through the interview process or come out of it on the other side going, you know what? No, I'm gonna peace out on this. I have a number of colleagues that are around my age, so I'm now in my early 50s, that they were like, I wish I'd listened to my gut better when I was younger. And telling people like, listen to your gut, it sounds really cheesy, but I'm just wondering if you all have ever had any of those experiences that you can share.
I've had that from the hiring side, which honestly didn't feel great because someone was like, okay, why are we declining this person? I was like, I don't know. The vibes were bad. Doesn't feel like a good answer. But you know, kind of the same thing. I talked to older people who had hired people a lot more than I have, and I was like, on paper, they look good. But when I hired them, didn't have a good feeling about it. And they're like, you should lean into that feeling. Like that gut feeling is there for a reason. And I feel like, you know, that can be problematic sometimes, but from the hiring side, I've certainly experienced that.
One thing I always like to tell people to ask, and things that this is something I've asked in an interview before, is what can you see me? It's important that you say me, right? What can you say me doing in this position in 6 months? Because it is two things. Number one, it forces the interviewer to picture you doing the work 6 months down the line. And number two, you can try to get a sense of exactly what your tasks will be, right? The job description can only tell you so much, and them thinking beyond that kind of probationary period will give you some insight into what it could look like.
I think that's a great suggestion. What can you be doing in a few months? Where do you see yourself growing? Like, where do they see the position growing is a great thing to talk about in the interview. When I interviewed for this job, I asked the people who were interviewing me what their favorite thing about the job was. So even if they did things other than me, like trying to see how excited and happy they were about the workplace, was something I wanted from the interview. In a different interview, I felt like they had really high expectations for the work that they wanted to be done while also not having like a lot of support for me and my learning, and that was difficult to kind of reckon with as, you know, everyone, you know, you need to find a job, but you want to find the best fit for you. And on the hiring side, I have had weird interviews where, yeah, the vibe was off. I think if you want to prevent that for yourself, be really caffeinated maybe before the job interview, be really excited about it. The vibes are off when people are really low energy during a job interview.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the audience? Okay. We have one in the chat. Why does GIS matter to you?
I'm not sure I would say that GIS as a like concept matters to me. I find it personally satisfying as from a technical perspective. Like I enjoy Python scripting and arcade and solving problems and creating a tool that someone's using to streamline their workflow. Like that is satisfying, empowering people to not just collect all this data, but do stuff with it and be able to like actually create maps and dashboards and products that like help them rather than just like, yes, I have put all the addresses in a database. And it's just like, okay, now what? Um, so like that part is neat. I'm sure I could be equally satisfied doing that with other kinds of data, other processes. This is what I fell into, and you know, it does satisfy. I think as a mentor now, I'm very satisfied by training people and seeing them grow in their skills, and often maybe even more in like their confidence. Like I got a lot of people right out of school who like know they don't know a ton, and I'm told Gen Z lack self-confidence from a million webinars. And I would say that from what I've seen, like there's a lot of people coming out of school who are like kind of scared to mess up. And so like half my job these days is being like, just try things. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. um, and like encouraging people to have that confidence to put out an idea, even if I'm going to be like, well, that's not going to work because of XYZ. Like, give me your idea, and then we can talk through it. Um, so I wouldn't say that GIS is like even the best career for me, but I really like it here, and it's not, you know, I haven't found any reason to go and find another.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's important to me because in addition to just loving a good dashboard, right? It like scratches that itch in my brain. Everything we do is spatial, right? Especially I work for a utilities department. We manage over 4,400 miles of water pipeline, 3,000 miles of sewer pipeline. Uh, if our folks did not have GIS, they couldn't do the job. It's actually really neat. One of our department directors retired last year, and he gave me a book that was from 1996. Yeah, that was not to out myself. That was the year I was born. Okay, but it said the opening statement was, imagine it's 3 a.m. It's pouring rain. There's a water main that's spewing water 30 feet in the air, right? Imagine having a system that you could go in and see where the valves are to turn off that main, and it's 3 a.m. Imagine having that system available to your people. That was a selling point of why the utilities department should adopt GIS from 1996. So from a utility standpoint, that we couldn't do our jobs without it, right? From a personal standpoint, I just really like cool maps. I just think they're neat.
Yeah, I think I really love what Ali said about providing that space where she's telling her employees that she manages, we'll just try it. For me, it's not GIS so much, but it's really just what I use to have the opportunity to try and fail and try new things and keep learning. It's um offered me that space where I do feel like competent and I take ownership in my work, and um, I hope when my employees know that I get handed a task, they're like, yay, Elizabeth is gonna do it and it's gonna be great when I make a map or a dashboard. I love that confidence in doing my job. I think that's what it's given me.
One thing I wanted to add too is don't be afraid to get outside of your comfort zone, right? Don't be afraid to step outside the world of GIS. When I first started with the city, I was hired on to do GIS, but they also needed someone to help out with some hardware support. And that's never really something that I had done, but I didn't mind learning. And so I did that probably 30% of the time, really kind of made a name for myself around the department. People knew me. And now people realize that I can handle more, my team can handle more, because I put myself out there and people saw the results of that.
And then the other question in the chat, have you had any hardships or challenges that you remember having to navigate in your career, and how did you go about navigating those?
So I mentioned I'm a manager now. I became a group leader January last year, and that process meant I had a lot more responsibilities with not necessarily a ton more training. So I uh, began speaking with other group leaders in my division extremely regularly, being like, here's a budget I need to put together. Here's, someone I'm interviewing and my thoughts on them. What do you think? Would you sit in this interview with me and we can talk afterwards about the potential hire, and I can kind of, gather some standards around how we go about XYZ. So have a mentor is kind of what I'm saying here. And that doesn't need to be one person. Like there's someone I go to for proposal help, budgeting, and that kind of thing. Someone I go to for, I'm having trouble with this person I'm managing in this particular way. How would you handle that? And even multiple people for that, right? But lean on the rest of the team. It's important to be able to trust your coworkers. And I don't mean that in any kind of like deep way, but like to do their jobs and to assist you in doing your job when you need it. If you are working in a place where you feel like that's not the case, let's circle back to that question before about how do you know when to move on. I have never been given a task and felt like I was on my own to do it. With technical tasks, I mean, sometimes, yeah, no one else knows how to use this software, and neither do I, so I'm gonna have to figure it out, right? That's why Google exists. But then also, I can call up Hayden or whoever else and be like, hey, I saw on a forum post that you've done XYZ. Could you tell me how that went? And sometimes people don't respond, but a lot of the times they'll be like, yeah, 4 years ago we did this, and here's what I found. So like reach out for help before before you get in over your head too far. It's good to struggle a little bit. It's how we learn and grow, but don't get to a point where you're like, I need to quit before you've told people that you're at that point.
Yeah, with us, we work with over 11 different divisions in the utilities department. The department itself has over 800 employees, and we work with a lot of different personalities. And I had on my team, I've had to have conversations with people relating to the difficulties that they have working with others in different divisions. And while the GIS might play nice, they're having trouble playing nice with someone else. Maybe that's a leader in our water quality division or something like that. And my advice to them is to always learn how to work with those different people, those difficult people, right? Maybe learn about their personality type. At the city, we're really big on the DISC assessment right now. So look up their DISC score and see where they fall, and maybe learn some strategies on how to approach things with them, how to work with them. There are a lot of people that you might not want to work with, but ultimately you have to. And there's never a bigger red flag for me than someone who says, I can't work with them. Why? Why can't you work with them? What are the issues, and can we address them?
Yeah, like Hayden previously said, developing those soft skills will help you get through hardships and challenges in the workplace. Being able to talk to one another, and mediate between differences. We've done the DISC assessment. We've had people come in and be like, this is your communication style and this is someone else's communication style. It helped a lot. It really set the tone in the office that you shouldn't take things personally. People just communicate in different ways. Just follow up, just reach out for clarification. You know, you got to get through work together. And also, like Ali said, I never feel like I'm alone getting through anything. Those online resources where other people post that are in similar careers as you are really important, and people love being asked how they did things and like love fixing things, especially in this career. So yeah, you can post on somebody's thread and ask them, how did you get that done? And yeah, I think the having employee resource groups or those online chats for careers are important for that as well.
Okay. Any last questions from the audience? Reviews. All right. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for our speaker series. It's been really great this semester having so many people come out to learn more about GIS through the CGA. And thank you so much to Allie, Hayden, and Elizabeth for coming to speak to us today. That will bring us to the end of our panel for today. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming. And I hope that people who are here, if this is your first time interacting with the CGA, I hope you come back to learn more with us, either through our classes, coming into our office, or our events that we host in the future. So thank you everybody for being here and have a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend.